Have any ideas for a bad franchise that was once good?
Well, I can go with one. For me, it's the Elderscrolls games.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah. This might be a little bit divisive, but they've not done anything new for so long. They've just kept re-releasing Skyrim. And even though I think it was E3 last year, they did announce Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on. They also said that it's using the same engine as Skyrim, which is the same engine that Oblivion used. So it's like they're still working on an engine that's from like 2006. I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons they gave is they said that all of their team know how to use that game engine. So, they're more familiar with it. Obviously, they've been using it for over a decade. But it seems odd that they would kind of be afraid, or not afraid, but like not willing to, say, teach people Unreal 4 or...
That's exactly like if you go into an office and everybody's still running freaking
Windows 98.
Yeah, Windows 98
Right.
or Windows XP because they're not familiar with Windows 10 or Windows 8 or whatever, and they don't want to upgrade. That's the same argument.
That was first me, but I mean,
Yeah,
Sorren
same
makes a
here.
great point. So I mean, like that the series is still good, but it's just stagnant. I mean, when you think about it now, they've almost released as many different versions of Skyrim between the original, the special, the VR, and that as they have other Elder Scrolls games.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of sad that they're stuck in that.
You compare it to, say, something like that. It's not just even if they move to a newer game engine, it feels like they've kind of lost the art of being able to create an open world game, because you look at something like Breath of the Wild, and like Zack said, you see a volcano in the distance. You go and investigate that volcano, you will find something. It will reward you for exploring. Elder Scrolls games, you can look at a volcano in the distance and you can walk up to it, and there will be nothing up it. They build their worlds very much, like here's a city, and then here's a side quest, and here's a side quest. Like they don't put all those, like in Breath of the Wild, those nice little touches.
I can get on board with the whole films that are cult for being crap. Yeah,
it's a cult. It is a cult classic at this point,
Yeah, and it's become a cult classic because it's so bad. So where the criteria for the conversation is bad video game movies, boom, absolutely smashed a home run out of the park. That is, I mean, I know Sorren's going to try and put a case for the defense. So the case for the prosecution.
Nate would too, our producer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know what's coming. Yeah, go for it. Just before you do, just remember, Toad is a good-natured guitarist. Take the stand.
Okay.
For the record, it's one of the best movies ever made. I'm just saying.
This one, thanks to Tony Brasel. We were part of a stream of NES games for charity a couple of years ago. It was 24 hours, and I was like, I need some games. He's like, we play a game called Kickmaster. Oh, never even heard of it. I mean, the name sounds made up.
The name is great, Kickmaster.
It sounds like something they made up for The Simpsons, but it's a dark fantasy beat 'em up where all you can do is kick. But it's so good, and it's like the Chuck Norris fantasy video game, but
And it's on the NES, to clarify.
it's on the NES, and it's an expensive NES game now. And it's so much fun, but it is hard.
Derik, do you know what this sounds like to me? You know, on those early episodes of The Simpsons around 1989, 1990, when Bart or Milhouse will talk about a video game that's completely ridiculous and it's made up, for the show like it's a real game in real life. That's what this sounds like.
It really does. I mean, like, I expect to be bundled with Lee Trevino's putting challenge or something.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So I'm playing Secret of Mana right now, and it's good. And I'm gonna, kind of sound like what Derik was talking about. I think it might be a product of people's nostalgia. Like I was looking online earlier, and people are calling it masterpiece and everything. It's like, no, this game is fun, but it is janky. It's a janky game. There are so many weird issues with it, so many annoying issues with it. The whole ring menu system is cumbersome, like especially whenever you start using magic. It's not set up very well. Again, it's fun, but it's not like there's no way you can't label this game as a masterpiece. The translation's awful.
You know, the era-defining change for me for something like Minecraft as well is that the concept of gamification is now being adopted by schools. And it's also being adopted by parents. So when you've had parents that are really quite, naturally critical of video games, and video games just consume time and they're just mindless, whatever they may be. You know, I think Minecraft, love it or hate it. I mean, I haven't played Minecraft. It does not appeal to me. That's not my thing. But the ability to put something like that, a toolbox in the hands of a child. In the hands of someone who can learn, who can be creative, and it be fun. That to me is a massive era-defining change. I don't think that's what Minecraft set out to do necessarily, and I'm sure that wasn't their MO, but it absolutely has happened, and it is happening. And so that, for me, is what I would consider more the era-defining change of Minecraft, what it has opened up. It wouldn't look out of place to walk into a school and see kids, walking around with creepers or whatever the hell they're called. I don't know. I don't play it, and making their little bits and pieces in their castles. And it's like you say, if you can build a NES emulator within there, if the possibilities are endless, I mean, that's just great stuff.
Do you know that Elon Musk also is a fan of the game and I guess he's getting it to run in Teslas now. I don't know if you guys knew that, but just stuff like that, man, is great. There's a Netflix animated series coming out now based on the game with, I'm assuming, the same style.
Yeah, it broke the wall of, shmup players always sit around and say the genre has no mainstream appeal. It could never be done.
It broke. Can you imagine?
If it was a pure shmup, I don't know, but it definitely is a lot more hardcore than what you normally come across, like Shovel Knight or something like that.
Right, and exactly. It did it. You're right. It broke the wall. Could you imagine a shmup or even a run and gun selling 4 million copies nowadays? It's crazy, And obviously it's because of the animation.
That's it.
Sold people, But the gameplay is also good. It's extremely, like I said, extremely hardcore. But that scene Derik's playing right now, that moon boss, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to get you guys. Where essentially, I feel like part of the reason why these games are great isn't their objective quality as games. It's also the context in which they were created. I had to explain this to, I'm going to be mean here, but to like a hipster kid who was talking Ocarina of Time all day, every day. He's like, oh, Ocarina of Time's blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, listen. When that game came out, it blew our freaking minds, okay? You have no idea how, insane that was at the time.
How old were you? How old were you when it came out?
I think I was about 10. So I was like,
nostalgia. You're in that range.
Nostalgia.
I was 17, I think, when that game came out, and it doesn't have the same effect on me.
Before we started the pod, Derik and I were talking exactly about that.
About Ocarina of Time?
About how Ocarina of Time is.
Oh, it's such a controversial game these days.
I mean, I like it, but I can't play it anymore. It's just
if you were there for it, it's like the game. But if you weren't, then it's like it's just some.
If you were there for it in that certain age, it was the game, and it was nuts. It blew my mind too, but I can't go back to it anymore.
I can't
either. That's a
and
whole
it's
different.
Not. It's like I said on Bob Ansett, it's 7. It's not a bad game. It's a really good, fantastic game. It's just that generation just doesn't age well. And part of it is like the combats. Yeah, well, if I cared about other people's opinions, I wouldn't be doing a podcast.
That's true.
Yeah. But what I was getting at is, I agree, objectively it is not the best game ever, objectively, but you have to also factor in the context of its release and the context of its impact on gaming.
Look, the future, whether we like it or not, is a version, a flavor of the likes of Google Stadia, right? It is online. It is, the concept of lockdown and exclusivity is gone. The concept of specific consoles is gone. You've got Microsoft and Nintendo working closely together. Why? Because they need to, for both of their sakes, to be the next big thing to take on the likes of a Google Stadia and blah blah blah. This is too late to the market. Do you know what this reminds me of? Right, here's a blast from the past. This reminds me of something called the Philips CDI. Remember that little fella? There he is. See, I knew someone would. Absolutely.
If I see Zelda Faces of Evil on this thing, I will buy it just to ruin it.
Oh, was that the one with the with the derpy Link in it?
Yes, exactly what it was.
The only time Link ever spoke was in that derpy game, if I'm right.
Yeah. Just shocking. So look, if I'm wrong, the whole internet can point at me and go, hey, it was that guy. That was the guy that said, oh, look, fine, I'll take that. I will take my chances because it's going to fail. It is destined to fail, not because it is a terrible console or that it doesn't have a good catalogue of games or it's you're too late to the party.
So GoldenEye, people talk about GoldenEye and they say, oh, it was influential, but when you go back, it's a piece of shit because the controls suck and all this stuff. With GoldenEye, for instance, a lot of people complain about the controls and say, well, the controls are so whack because it's just one analog stick. And a lot of people don't realize that GoldenEye has like 5 different control schemes in there, including one where you can play with 2 controllers at once called Overkill, and you have 2 analog sticks.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you want 2 analog sticks, you can actually do that. It's called Overkill. Most people who speedrun GoldenEye don't play on the default control scheme, 1.1. They play on 1.2. And what that does is instead of mapping that weird kind of strafing to the C buttons, but you're looking and moving with the analog stick, it makes it kind of like Doom, where you look all around with your analog stick, but then move with the C buttons. So like mouse and keyboard. But people will write all these long reviews about that game and how it's so dated and so unplayable these days because of the controls when they don't even explore the control options. They make it seem like just a bunch of monkeys hit a keyboard and out came GoldenEye 007. Like, no, they thought about the control scheme when they're making the game. They thought about how to make it work.
But I guarantee you, if you went back and played GoldenEye on its standard control scheme and you just played only that for like a month, by the end of that month, you'll be controlling it absolutely fine and having an absolute blast with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there are games where it's hard to get around that the controls are actually bad, but GoldenEye is not one of those games. But they're just throwing that on it because it's an old game and they're not used to the control scheme.
To me, this doesn't matter. Do I care? Not really. Mainly because if gamers if they don't like it, all they've got to do is wait. They just got to wait it out. That's really it. Just don't spend your money where you don't want the money spent or where you don't want the money to go, So don't spend your money on the Epic Game Store if you don't like the Epic Game Store. It's that easy. It's just that gamers are very, very impatient people and they want things right now. So they have to have their game as soon as it's released.
It's my money and I want it now.
Yeah, so it's like...
It's your money.
Just take it. Just get over it. That's like my thing with most gaming controversies. Honestly, it's just get the... And I don't remember if we were supposed to swear on the podcast or not, or if we were
okay.
allowed to.
Light swearing is fucking fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, yeah, it's nice that if everything was Steam because my library is all right there in one go, but competition is the best. I mean, it's the best option for gamers, despite how often gamers seem to not want competition. Like, how many console guys just beat off to the idea of the other consoles going out?
Yeah, I know.
That's
like a big thing. Up until this point, it was pretty smooth sailing. Everyone was kind of happy about how things were going for the most part. But then this Epic thing happened and people lost their shit. Like, they went crazy over this whole... Like, people wanted refunds. They were like, fuck Shenmue 3, forget it. I've been betrayed. All this stuff. I was like, whoa, where's this coming from? And I guess a lot of it comes down to, I feel like people... I don't know when it happened, but I guess somewhere along the way, people fell in love with Steam and got married or something. Because, like, to me, I've never liked Steam as far as, like... Oh, Steam, it's this great service. It's so important to me. I just view it as a DRM storefront that you have to kind of work with and get stuff from. And overall, I feel like another storefront existing other than Steam is probably a good thing, because over the years Steam has kind of gotten a little more, well, we'll do what we want to do because we have no competition. And I feel like in Shenmue 3's case, the Steam version that was promised was literally, it's coming on Steam because that's the only PC storefront.
It's interesting he brought up DLC in fighting games, because that is such a back and forth topic for me in my head, because like the de facto justification for DLC could be fighting games, because before DLC came along, Street Fighter Hyper Fighting, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, Street Fighter Turbo Max Ultra Edition, because to upgrade anything, they'd have to resell you the game. So like Street Fighter 4 has like 4 or 5 different versions, because I
paid $80 for Street Fighter Special Champion Edition on Genesis. I had Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo, but I wanted the Champion Edition with the 4 extra characters, so I paid $80 for you're right, and that basically was DLC. It's the same game, just with some extra features. Yeah. Look at it this way: games really haven't changed in price much since the inception of gaming, really, since the 80s. I mean, you still paid $50 for Nintendo games back in the day. I think I paid $80 for Final Fantasy 2 or 4, whatever, back in like the early 90s, Now, I mean, what do you think the development costs were on a Final Fantasy, a 16-bit Final Fantasy game? It probably wasn't $100 million, So the prices of games development has gone skyrocketed into the hundreds of millions for some of these games, and they're still selling them for the same price as they were 30 years ago. So, I mean, that's just one argument that you could say. They got to make more money somehow, but at the same time, some companies are better than others about it.
I didn't interject this, but I wanted to say this. The Battlefront 2 thing we're talking about, to get all the stuff unlocked, would either take 4,358 hours of gameplay or $2,100.
Oh my
God. That shit.
Look at The Sims 4 is another one where I think The Sims 4 has like the most expansion packs of like any
oh my god,
ever made.
I have them all because let me explain the story. It's a funny story. I have them all. I have every single one. Someone I know in my family loved The Sims. Like it was their favorite series, and so they did buy every single one. And one day they just had enough, and they're like, I'm done with this series. And they handed me them all. And it's like a stack of this many. I'm not kidding. It's bigger than the frame. So many discs. I was like, what am I going to do with these? And they're like, well, you collect games. Here you go. Take them. So and I tried to resell them. I was like, no one wants these. These are like garbage. I could throw them for Frisbees for my dog. I don't know what I'm sure.
And there's this guy showed up after a mission in the camp, and I'm like, oh, who are you? And I go up and talk to him, and guess what? He starts talking to me about something, and then all of a sudden he's trying to sell me DLC for the game. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Just talk about immersion breaking, man.
That does suck.
It was horrible, man. It was like, I wasn't like super offended, but I started laughing. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It's like, oh, I have this quest for this ancient family sword that I need to go and find, and it'll only cost you like $4.99 to go.
That's exactly what it was. He started talking about a quest. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. And then he's like, oh, by the way, you got to pay for it. This little thing pops up, and I'm like,
you son of a bitch. That's awful.
I never did it. I'm like, fuck that. I don't need this. Back in middle school, we thought there was a Playboy game on the Neo Geo, and my friend.
Oh. Was that what Strip Fighter was on?
I don't know.
Amazing. Is that a real game?
Strip Fighter? That's a real game for real?
Is it?
No.
He's Googling it. It must be.
It was on PC Engine.
Strip Fighter? Strip Fighter?
It was a really bad clone of Street Fighter 2. It's called Strip Fighter 2. There's not a Strip Fighter 1.
Is this all just all scantily clad women, basically?
Yeah, but I think that one with the cow stuff may be packing a beef stick.
Oh my god! Look at this. This is real. How do you know this?
I'm fucking autistic, I think.
I love to Power Glove.
I own the Power Glove.
There's no point. Shit.
What's the point of being alive? You need to love to Power Glove, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
If you really had your skills increased by the Power Glove, either you're a freak of nature who doesn't need to breed, or you suck.
Like, they could have stuck Final Fantasy on it, and it's got just as much depth in the, the world building and the lore of everything.
Was it a Mistwalker game?
Was it a what, sorry?
A Mistwalker game? That's a studio he made, I think the music was done by, I'm going to butcher that pronunciation. Uematsu? My redneck ass can't say Japanese shit.
I would love to see like a Super Mario All-Stars 2 of all the 3D Marios re-released for Switch. I'd buy that day one.
That's a great idea.
Yes, buy it.
That's a great idea. They can include them all. They could do 64, Sunshine, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Twilight Princess, see?
What about Twilight Princess?
You just named it off of the Mario game.
Did I? Oh my God. Okay, must be getting. Yeah. Sorry.
I thought it was a little bit of Inception there. He's like incepting.
I'm getting my Nintendo franchise screwed up in my head.
Like, if they bring Red Alert back, though, like, you kind of have to have Tim Curry in it, so they can get, they've got to go to space.
I mean, once you have Tim Curry in a series, you always have to have Tim Curry. That's like a law. It's in the Bible, isn't it?
I can't leave.
Yeah.
The recording's over.
I was gonna say, it looks like you're in like a fucking bomb shelter, man. Like,
I am in a bomb shelter.
Holy shit, bro! Like,
I am.
You look like one of the guys in Fallout who's like recording with like.
You notice I'm leaning up
to
against
pick up transmissions and shit. Like,
I can't move my camera because I don't want to mess it up. But if you notice, I'm leaning up against the giant CRT here.
It is a giant CRT TV.
That's what my back's up against.
Nice. So
I think the difference that I know between Bullet Hell and Shmup is the Bullet Hell I don't play and the Shmup I will.
Absolutely in agreement as well.
Bullet Hells are for the hardest core of the hardcore Shmup players. Welcome to GameFellas, the Retro to Modern Gaming Podcast, Episode 2. With me tonight, I have...
No, sorry. You gotta do that again, bro. Remember we talked about this.
What do we talk about? What do we talk about?
Put some pep in it, man. Welcome to GameFellas, guys. It's, you're like, oh.
Dude, that's about as much pep as I got right now.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that to you, man. So
you're killing me, Nate.
Do what you can. Do what you can.
All right, round 2. 3, 2, 1.
At best, we have our outtake already.
I know, man. We probably do.
All right.